Ready?
Ja.
Good morning, people. Today is day 4 of the WSOP experience Las Vegas trip. Yesterday I didn't record an intro because I was hungover, and guess what? I'm even more hungover today. I didn't even sleep 4 hours or so, and I feel terrible, to be honest. I wanted to show you the unfiltered truth of my face. Looks pretty good. I still try to vlog today, and I had an idea. To make a ladder challenge. The challenge is to start at 1-2 or 1-3 with 200 or 300 in our stack, and if we reach the point of $500 or something like that, we hop into the 2-4 or 2-5 game, and if we can get to $1,000 or more, then we hop into the 5-10 game, and so on and so on. But to be honest, if we reach 5-10, that would be amazing. I think that's a pretty cool idea, and we will try to do it at the Venetian or maybe Bellagio, but at first I think we will start our session at the Wynn again, because I really like the poker room there. It was really fun to play there. The atmosphere there is great. It's not so loud like in the Golden Nugget. The Golden Nugget was brutal. It was so loud and the air is so... It makes you uncomfortable. I'm not really sure if you can relate to that, but yeah, all of my mates are still sleeping and I'm really not sure what to do. I already thought about going to the strip and play a session, but I think that's not a good idea. Maybe I will look for some coffee. Maybe I will do some sport again like yesterday. And today I really try to do some more video footage of myself, doing some session updates, keep you guys updated what we are doing, and not only with voiceovers like I will probably do in the first 3 episodes. Okay, but there's one thing I want to tell you, because to me it feels kind of weird to film myself in public in casinos where everybody can see you. Maybe I need to get used to this. Not really sure. I think I have to just try it, and so I will try it today, okay? So enough talking for this early morning. I try to get fresh, maybe try to sleep again. Not really sure, but I keep you updated. See you.
5 hours later.
Yeah guys, area it is. There's a very long waiting list, so we are playing some blackjack to skip the time. Let's hope we can get to a table in like half an hour or so, and then let's run hot. See you at the table.
Hours later.
Okay guys, we changed our plans. We are at the MGM right now because there are only 3 tables going at the area, and there's a waiting list of 50 people or so. It looks better here at the MGM. There are like 5 tables and only 7 people on the waiting list, so we hope that we don't have to wait for too long and get finally at the table, like after 2 hours of waiting already at the area. I want to play some cards, man. See you at the table.
2 hours later.
As you guys can see, we didn't get a seat at the MGM cash tables because they needed some dealers for their tournament. And after like 5 or 6 hours of casino hopping and just waiting, we rushed to Ballys and finally got a seat in their 1-3 game. I buy in for 300 because that's the max, and after like 1 or 2 orbits I immediately noticed this table is full of OMCs. Not a very good game. The best example is one of my first hands where we see an early position limp and I ISO raise. The small blind behind me just calls and the limper calls. I had to fold for a small bet because I whiffed completely and they come to showdown and early position player shows ace king and the small blind shows pocket queens. What is happening at this table? Okay, once some smart guy said something like, if there are only loose aggressive player at your table, play tight. And if all opponents are tight at your table, you have to play loose. So I have to adapt and change my game a little. And here the first hand is a perfect example. We see 3 limps before it gets to me on the button and I look down at ace-7 offsuit. Not really the best playable hand, but I want to punish the limpers and I raise to 20. Only the low jack decides to call and we see a nice looking flop of ace-9-5 with 2 clubs. My opponent checks to me and I c-bet small for 16. Now something weird happened because he raises to 45. Unfortunately for me, this is the one opponent at my table who sometimes played back. So I think I can't fold my hand right away and I stick in a call. We see the queen of hearts on the turn and now the low jack checks to me. Seems pretty weak to me. I think most likely he's on a flush draw or something like that. And that's the reason why I don't want to give him a free river card and I bet 55. He takes a small time before he sticks in 55 as well and we go to the last card. The dealer burns and shows us the 8 of hearts. Not really a brick, but the obvious flush draw bricked. To my surprise, my opponent now donk jams for 69 total. Since I putted my opponent on a flush draw on the flop and compared to the pot this isn't a real big bet, I ultimately decide on a call. I really want to see how he's playing and maybe get an advantage in later hands. To my surprise, he turns over ace-7 of clubs. So we split this one up. Very surprising ending to this hand, but to be honest, I'll take it. Some time goes by before the next interesting hand happened. Here we are in middle position with ace queen of hearts and we see an under the gun limp. I ISO raise to 15, the blinds and the under the gun limper call. We see a flop of 10, 6, 4 with 1 heart and 2 diamonds. Interesting, the small blind now leads for 20. The under the gun player calls and since we have 2 overcards and a backdoor flush and straight draw, I decide to stick in a call as well. We see a very beautiful king of hearts on the turn, which improves us to a royal flush draw. My opponent in the small blind is not done with betting, now he bets 50. My opponent in the under the gun position sticks in a call and since we are in position I think a call is fine here. Out of position I may like a jam more, but so we can see a relatively cheap river. If we improve we can get the money in and if we don't we just can fold. So please dealer one time. He burns and shows us the deuce of spades. Unfortunately my opponent still bets, this time for 100 and yeah, under the gun and I decide to fold so we don't see what the small blind has. Yeah, on to the next one. Here we are under hijack with pocket deuces. No limp this time, the +1 player makes it 12 to go. I'm here to play so I stick in a call and we see 3 more calls behind us. That means we go to a flop 5 ways of 9, 8 deuce. We smash bottom set here, dream scenario, the board is kinda wet as well. I want to get the money in. +1 c-bets for 45. There are 3 opponents behind me and I want to get them in the pot as well. So I just call. It folds to the small blind and dream scenario happens, he raises to 145. And now things got crazy, even better news, the +1 player calls. I only have 255 total in my stack and now is the time to get it in. I jam for 255 total, it gets to the small blind again who calls a little too quick. It feels like the +1 position has a really hard time but ultimately decides on a fold. No more action this hand, the turn brings in the 10 of hearts and the river brings in a brick as well, the 4 of diamonds, sadly. And unfortunately my opponent shows us pocket 8s and we lose this massive pot and we have to rebuy again. It's not our first time, we are in for 800 total now. Time for a comeback now. By the way, if you didn't notice, I already switched tables. That's a really good thing at Ballys and the WSOP. There are tons of cash games going, at least 20 to 31 free games. so you can choose a better table if yours is full of nits. To be honest, I'm steaming a little and I'm playing a little looser. You can see this in this hand. Here we are in the low jack with 9-7 of spades. No limp this time, so I only raise to 10 and we get 3 caller behind us. We see a flop of 10-4-4 rainbow. Seems like I brick completely, but I see the backdoor straight and backdoor flush draw. So I c-bet on this board and we only get 1 caller. We go to a turn which is a little improvement, the 6 of diamonds. That's way enough for me to keep barreling here for 45. We have a gut shot to a straight. Feels like a lot to me in this moment. Luckily for us, aggression pays off in this hand and my opponent folds. So we finally win a pot again. Before we go into the next hand, please guys take a moment and leave a like and subscribe under the channel. It takes a lot of time to edit these videos, but for you guys it only takes 2 seconds to click these 2 little buttons. It means the world to me and it helps me a lot. Thank you again. And now into the next hand. Unfortunately I don't have video footage of this hand, but believe me, I'm in middle position with ace-10 offsuit. It folds to me and I raise to 10. We see 2 caller, the button and the small blind. The flop comes king 10-5 rainbow, so we flop ourselves middle pair, not too bad. And after they check to me, I could c-bet here sometimes, but I decide to check back. We see the 8 of diamonds on the turn that brings in a backdoor flush draw. The board gets a little more wet and my opponent in the small blind decides to lead for 15. No reason to fold yet, so I stick in the call and the button gets out of the way. We are only heads up and the dealer shows us a beautiful 10 of hearts on the river. And even better news, my opponent still wants to get money into the pot. This time he bets 25. Definitely putting in a raise here. In the end I decide to just click it back to 55. I think even though that looks pretty strong, I think my opponent is not capable to fold top pair here. And as I thought, he sticks in the call after some time and we are good. Not really sure what he had, but never mind. We grab in another pot. Feels good. In the last hand at Ballys we want to go over, I'm in a small blind with pocket jacks. We see a limp from early position before the button raises to 15. I think that's a clear 3-bet versus this button ISO raise, so I 3-bet to 50. The limper gets out of the way, but my friend in the button decides to call. We are heads up to a not so good looking flop of ace king 4 with 2 diamonds. Anyway, I should smash this board with my 3-betting range here and I c-bet small for 35. The button decides to call. We see a brick in form of the 4 of spades and we both decide to check this turn. We see another brick in form of the 8 of spades on the river and I decide to check to my opponent again. Now he decides to bet for a small amount of 40. I know him, he is actually a friend of mine and I know he is pretty loose and capable of bluffing here. Like flush draws, maybe some missed straight draws like queen 10 or jack 10. Even though I block those hands, he's capable to turn those kind of hands into bluffs. And if I'm wrong, at least the money goes to my friend. I stick in the 40 bucks and my opponent shows me queen 9 of diamonds. So he had a missed flush draw that he tried to turn into a bluff, but not this time my friend. We are good here with 3rd pair and we drag in the last pot of the Ballys session. Oof, we just finished the session at Ballys and it was a roller coaster. We were down over 500 at the beginning and crawled our way back to only losing 300. Still a big loss, and even when we are tired, we're still playing a session at the Wynn with the boys. Let's see if we can back $300. And yeah, see you at the Wynn table. Let's go! So we arrive at the Wynn and we buy in for 500 in their 1-3 game, which is the max. Pretty deep, but there's only one real hand I can go over. It was a quick session there. All of us were kinda tired and I think we just played for 1 or 2 hours. Anyway, here we are in the small blind with king jack of hearts. It folds to the hijack who raises to 12. It gets to me and I think I could 3-bet here sometimes, I could call here sometimes, but in the end I decide to 3-bet and I size up to 35. Maybe a little sizing mistake, I should 3-bet here a little bigger since I'm out of position, but as played, 35 is okay for me. It folds to the hijack who calls, so we are only heads up to a flop of jack 8-3 all spades. We have top pair, decent kicker, but the monotone board is kinda scary. Anyway, I c-bet for 30. The hijack wastes no time and sticks in a call. The dealer burns and shows us a brick in form of the 5 of diamonds on the turn. I decide to slow down on this card, pot controlling a little bit and check to my opponent. Seems like pot controlling is not a thing for my opponent in the hijack because he bets 80 now. I think he could do this with a variety of hands that I have beat, like Ace X with the Ace of Spades, or maybe a hand like 10-9, Queen 10, something like that, so I stick in a call. Hoping for a brick on the river, which unfortunately not comes, the dealer rolls over the 4 spades. So there are 4 spades on board now and I basically give up on the hand and check to my opponent. To my surprise, my opponent quickly checks back and he shows us Jack 9 without a spade. So we are good here and rack in this nice pot. Maybe an hour after that hand, we cash out for a nice little profit here at the Wynn for 255 bucks. Feels pretty good after the losing session at Bally's and we are almost even for the day with poker. That's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more WSOP and Las Vegas vlogs, and in the next one we do a real ladder challenge like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, where we ended up playing 5-10 at the Venetian and I played my biggest pot ever. If you want to know if I won or lost the biggest pot of my life, you have to watch the next episode, so leave a like and subscribe under the channel. And in the end, here are the numbers for day 4. Thanks for watching, much appreciated, and see you in the next one.